Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 2025 meeting of Safe Silver Spring. My name is Alan Bowser. I'm the board. We do this 4 times a year with the third district staff, and we're pleased to have Commander Jason Cokinos to talk to us about public safety developments in Silver Spring. And I'll turn it over to the commander now. Commander, welcome and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me and doing this and getting everyone together. For those that don't know me, my name is Jason Cokinos, the commander of the Third District, Silver Spring, which is everything from Burtonsville, Fairland, White Oak, Hillendale, Four Corners to downtown Silver Spring, everything east of 16th Street for Joel. Yeah, basically joined back down in Silver Spring last July. I've been here and had the pleasure of, I think we've done at least two of these now, Alan, I believe. So it's good. It's good to come on out and talk about everything that's going on. I'm going to give an overview of kind of the state of the district, if you will. So I'll tell you what's been going on since the last time we spoke. And I'm going to focus talking about downtown, but I'm also going to just discuss all of the areas in Silver Spring very briefly, in case there's folks on that are from different parts and not just downtown. Sometimes downtown, gets the spotlight, but there are people that live in other neighborhoods, obviously, as well. So, good news. So we finished 2024 significantly down in a lot of violent crime categories, carjackings, robberies, things of that nature. I have put out publicly, and for those that don't follow me, obviously we have different platforms that the department uses, social media. I broadcast Silver Spring specific content on X, MCPD 3D Commander, and then we amplify that on some other platforms as well, Facebook and things like that. But we finished 2024 with violent crimes are down, which is good. We have areas of opportunity that we need to improve in relation to retail theft, car break-ins, and stolen cars and stuff like that. So homicide was down, shootings are down, things of that nature. So now we're in May of 2025, and we're getting a snapshot of almost to about halfway through the year and how have things been trending from everything. So good news is downtown Silver Spring is still trending down with regards to violent crime and things of that nature. So we've had no homicides downtown. We've actually only had one homicide in all of the Silver Spring district. We want zero, of course, but we had one that was up in the Fairland community, and that has since been solved. There is the perpetrators in custody and charged with the murder, and that was some type of dispute, potentially over some type of criminal related activity. And this individual that did the homicide was from Prince George's County and came to Silver Spring purposefully looking for the victim because of an ongoing dispute. But downtown Silver Spring, so no homicides this year so far. Knock on wood, we hope to keep it that way. Robberies are down 19% compared to this time last year. So the trend of serious crimes downtown continue to go down. Carjackings are 50% lower than they were this time last year. We know last year we finished 68% lower than the year before. So we're trending very well with that. Burglaries are down about 34%. Felony assaults involving a gun. So someone pointing a gun at somebody, displaying a gun. We've only had 2 incidents in the downtown so far this year. So that's an 81% decline. So again, we've been proactively out trying to interdict people that are carrying illegal guns before they can use them in a crime. And our gun seizures are up 50%. downtown. We've had both plainclothes teams and other proactive officers making traffic stops and encountering individuals acting suspicious, and they're finding and seizing guns. And when we find and seize guns proactively, that's why we have 81% decline in the displaying and use of guns and assaults and things of that nature. We're getting them before they're used in a worse environment. Retail theft. So we finished last year with retail theft being up. Retail theft in the last 5 years is up 128%. We have a retail theft epidemic that is going on. There's a number of reasons for that, but we focused a lot of resources on that starting last November, right before the holiday shopping season. And we've seen positive return on investment so far. We're down, retail theft is down 20% this year so far compared to last year. We still have a long way to go, but we're dedicating a lot of resources. Our central business district team and other patrol officers have been working with our top 7 identified businesses that have the most theft. Places like CVS and the Safeway on Thayer Avenue and things like that. So the issues that we're still seeing is this year, car break-ins downtown and stolen cars have increased year to date compared to last year. So we are doing a number of things. We didn't know if that was going to be just a little spike or something more sustained. So we kept an eye on it for the first month or two, and then it persisted. So we've now formally begun to address those issues. We have done late night garage patrols in the downtown garages. Basically, we track where all of the car break-ins are happening, and we put extra officers late night driving around down there. So during the times when the car break-ins were happening and stuff, and preliminarily, we've seen a reduction in car break-ins downtown in the late night hours when we have these officers patrolling these garages. So the high visibility is working. We're going to carry that through the rest of the year. We'll see how those numbers balance out. But so far in the last month and a half, we've seen a decline since we started putting those resources on that. Now, we're very short staffed. The police department as a whole is about 200 officers short. So we don't have a lot of extra officers to be throwing at these different problems. But what we're doing is we're using overtime and asking officers to come in extra to focus on these special problems. That's not something that'll be sustainable forever, but we have to do it now because we need to do something. So the last thing I'll bring up about, 2 things I'll bring up about downtown is the late night safety bill. Since that was signed in, championed by Council President Stewart, we have had no businesses downtown that have qualified to be on the late night safety plan. We've had very little incidents late night. Things have been tremendously different night and day compared to how things were when some of these establishments were staying open till 5, 6 in the morning. We were having shootings and fights, and people were drunk in the streets when the sun was coming up. So we don't have those problems anymore right now. So that's been a success. We are doing, I publicized this the other day, with the warm weather approaching, one of our concerns are juveniles and juvenile crime in the downtown area. So we're having officers visible at Ellsworth Drive and Fenton Street on Fridays and Saturday nights for people that want to go to the movie theater and the restaurants and stuff. So we're just going to have some extra officers down there. We're also having officers for working in conjunction with the Department of Transportation. So Department of Transportation runs the parking garages. They have their own contract security officers that patrol the garages. We are adding extra patrols a few times a week during the dinner hours in those garages to supplement what the Department of Transportation is doing to help folks feel safe to come out to dinner and frequent the businesses downtown. So that's working out well. We are going to be here in beginning of July. We have a central business district team, also known as our bike team. We used to have 2 teams. We went down to 1 team because of staffing shortages. They only work 4 days a week. We got 7 new rookie officers that came to Silver Spring and got trained. And so we're going to be able to staff a second central business district team. So we're going to have 7 day a week coverage from noon to 10 p.m. in the downtown. These are extra officers that can handle any quality of life issues, high visibility, work with the businesses, target retail theft, and aid in the safety around the businesses and the restaurants and things like that. So that's good news. Good news there. So moving up to outside of downtown, our George 2 area, that's going to be your Forest Glen, your Sligo Creek, different things like that. Theft from autos are down 40%. That's a good thing. We are trending a little higher on residential burglaries particularly along the Sligo Creek corridor. So Sligo Creek obviously runs a tremendous amount from Tacoma Park over through Wheaton. We have Sligo Creek runs kind of, obviously east to west from Piney Branch, crossing Colesville and Georgia Avenue up and all, but up that way. So we've had a spike in burglaries along that corridor, and we don't know if the suspects using the paths from the park and the trail to target homes, but our detectives are working those cases. But we have had a spike there. George 2 is generally a relatively quiet area. The Forest Glen, the areas, just sat inside the Beltway on Colesville, Dale Drive up in there. So those areas. So other than residential burglaries, we've seen some positive trends with the other crime in those areas. Moving over to Piney Branch, Flower Avenue, Piney Branch and University area. We've had some positive results. No carjackings over there. Car break-ins are down 15%. Theft of auto part. That's the airbags, wheels we see commonly stolen from Hondas and other vehicles in those communities are down 63%. Stolen cars are down about 61% in those areas. We did have, and that's our heavy Spanish-speaking community over there. So we've done a lot of outreach with those folks. We had a big community meeting in Long Branch because there was some questions and concerns about our relationship and partnership with ICE. So immigration is a federal responsibility. We do not partner with ICE in doing immigration raids or immigration enforcement. We don't take action on civil immigration detainers. That's all a responsibility of ICE. Obviously, if ICE was doing an operation, which they don't even tell us necessarily that they're doing it, we may not even know. But if they called out for help, that's a federal law enforcement agency. We would respond to try to stabilize the scene and ensure safety for all. But we're not partnering with them in any type of immigration enforcement. All of anything that's related to working with ICE and anything that the county deems appropriate is stemming through our Department of Corrections. So if someone gets arrested and they go to Department of Corrections has a procedure and a policy on what they communicate to the federal government on who's been arrested and things of that nature. But what we're seeing is recently we've had a little bit of an uptick in robberies and assaults in that Piney Branch and University corridor. But what that is stemming from is we have had, starting this year, a little more of an uptick with folks that are abusing fentanyl. So we have a number of individuals, some homeless, some undocumented, and they're congregating at areas along the Piney Branch corridor using fentanyl and alcohol. And then there's been assaults and robberies and things of that nature. We classify what's a robbery. Sometimes people think someone going into a liquor store with a gun, right, and sticking a gun in somebody's face. But a robbery is just taking somebody else's property with force. So when we have a number of our robberies are like juveniles, right? Like 5 kids see another kid that they know from school and they push him and they take his book bag and run off. Well, technically that's classified as a robbery. So when you have someone that uses force or threatens force and takes something, it could be even just a cell phone, it could be a shoes. We're classifying those as robberies, so those will come up in those numbers. Other than that, things are looking good in that area. Outside of that, we're working on trying to address this fentanyl issue and interact with the community over there and try to get folks some help. And, we don't go around just arresting everyone. That's not our answer to solving problems. We work collectively with a number of organizations, Health and Human Services, other government agencies, but also nonprofits to try to fix the root cause of some of these crime issues, which it's substance, housing issues, alcohol, different things like that. So moving over to our Henry II, our Hillendale, Four Corners areas, working towards the middle of the district. Car break-ins are down about 57%. Retail theft was up in that area, ending in 2024. A bulk of that was from the Safeway on New Hampshire Avenue in Hillendale and our CVS at Four Corners. We've done some targeted work with those entities. And so far this first quarter, we're seeing about a 2% decline in retail theft in those areas. So again, being up about 60% in those areas last year to being down compared. We're heading in a good direction with some of the theft issues. Again, a lot of work to do. What we're seeing in Hillendale is we're seeing folks that are going into that Safeway and they basically steal a bunch of stuff and then go right down into Prince George's County into Langley Park, and then they're reselling it to the food trucks and different things like that down there. And that's the same with our theft downtown. We'll see folks that go into a grocery store and steal a bunch of detergents and different things, and then they go down to a laundromat and they'll stand in there and they'll be selling to people coming in to wash their clothes, like, hey, you want to buy some detergent? And they're selling it very cheap, and for them it's pure profit because they stole it. But Hillendale, Four Corners robberies are down 58%. So and we're not really seeing any serious weapons and firearm related violent crime. So things are looking really good there. As we move up, our very challenging area that we're dealing with is our White Oak area. Lockwood Drive, the apartments down in there, Stewart, different things like that. Although our shootings are down about between 50 and 60%. So that's good news, right? That violent crime is down. Our robberies, our street robberies, we had a huge spike in the beginning of the year that are really setting our numbers higher than they were last year. And those exclusively are juveniles, packs of juveniles that are going around the apartment complex, either targeting other kids or targeting individuals that are, getting something out of their car, and they'll take their sneakers, take their cell phone, things of that nature. We have seen a leveling off on that. Again, that happened early on in the year. We put some officers over there. Detectives are working those cases, and we've seen those robbery numbers start to come down. So that's good. We've only had one carjacking up there. However, car break-ins are up big time. Theft of auto parts are up big time in the White Oak area, airbags, wheels. And we're seeing a big increase in retail theft in the White Oak Shopping Center and also the Cherry Hill Road shopping center, where there's Target and Kohl's and different things like that. So, we're trying to replicate some of the stuff we're doing downtown with our businesses, also up in the White Oak area, to address some of this theft. Again, it's worked in Hillendale and Four Corners. It's working downtown. So now we got patrol officers that are working with the grocery stores and the shopping stores up there. Cherry Hill Road is a main corridor to Prince George's County. So we get folks that come in from Prince George's County to target that shopping center to steal, and then they head back out on Cherry Hill Road. We've made a number of arrests, and we're going to keep doing that. So the good news is those stolen cars in White Oak are down about 26%. So we're getting a lot of cars getting broken into, but luckily the cars being stolen have declined. Now, some of that stems from these Kias and Hyundais that were getting stolen. And we did some outreach last year, and we're still reminding people to the manufacturer is giving free security software upgrades to those cars, and that is helping to reduce the theft issues. The other thing is obviously keeping your cars locked and not leaving your keys in your car. Sometimes we get people that get their car stolen because they've left a key fob in the vehicle by accident. Lastly, I'm going to talk about our Burtonsville, Fairland area all the way up north. We did have early on this year, we had a little spurt of robberies around the Outlet Drive Shopping Center. They were juveniles that lived in the Castle Boulevard neighborhood that did mainly juvenile and juvenile robberies. Again, we see that's the trend with a lot of these robberies are, 13, 14, 15, 17-year-old kids that see each other and they take their shoes or their phone or their jacket. But since then, we've had it's been very quiet on that front up there. Stolen cars slightly down, car break-ins are down, theft of auto parts are down. That's one of our focus areas. We're doing overnight patrols in that area of Briggs Cheney and those surrounding neighborhoods. We're doing extra patrols on Lockwood Drive for the car break-ins, and obviously downtown, and then also just south of our Hillendale community on New Hampshire Avenue. So those late night, overnight, high visibility patrols, they're working. They're working up in neighborhoods in the northern Silver Spring area, and so we're seeing declines, and we're hoping to keep pushing those down. We had, like I spoke about earlier, we did have the one homicide for the year up in the Fairland area, but outside of that, we've had very little violent gun crime in the northern part. Right, White Oak, we have had some, but up off Briggs Cheney, Fairland, we've seen outside of that homicide, no other weapons related violent crime. So that's good news. So just to summarize, where are areas that need our attention? White Oak and downtown, those are the two main areas. We're still obviously going to be keeping our eye on other parts of the district. And I think that might be it, Alan. And I see there's some questions in the chat. I'll let you kind of moderate how you want to handle that and whatnot. And I don't know, Lieutenant Galladara, if you have anything to add. I kind of rapid fired that district overview, but
Sure. Just a couple of quick other initiatives we're working on downtown Silver Spring. As mentioned, I'm Tony Galladora, one of the deputy commanders in the 3rd District. Been here about 2.5 years now, and I'm responsible for downtown Silver Spring area. We have Officer Nikki Hawkins, who is our kind of our unhoused outreach liaison officer. She does an incredible amount of work with Progress Place and a lot of the nonprofits that work there. Based on kind of concerns from the business community about certain locations where folks were hanging out and causing some problems. Her and Officer McLeod, who's also one of our community engagement officers, they've been doing kind of pop-up coffee with a cop events where a number of folks are hanging out causing problems, and they're out there with coffee, with water, with snacks, and flyers about what the rules are. And they've tried to address a lot of issues through an education piece. Very well received. The folks see us out there, the businesses see us out there. We'll go out there and chat with all of them while we're there. So that's been very helpful. I know the commander mentioned our details, like at Fenton and Ellsworth, where we have officers stationed there sometimes, and also in the parking garages. I know I've said this on this call before, but those officers, they're signing up for those shifts voluntarily. Of course, they get paid when they're there, but they're volunteering to work either a 16-hour day those days, or they're coming in on their days off to do that. If you see them, if you can just wave to them and say thank you for being there, you have no idea how much that helps us staff those details. And they tell us, they go, hey man, like I was out here for 6 hours and I had like 3 people come over and say hi, and they really, really appreciate that. It goes a very long way for helping us to staff those details. And then I know you mentioned the Department of Transportation. They're responsible primarily for the security of the parking garages. We've been working with them for years. And I'm sure, Alan, you remember this. Several years ago, we had a serious incident. A lot of money was allocated to upgrade security, hire folks. That includes security guards, but also program managers, and to maintain the security of these garages. We've been working very well with them. We actually created a dashboard so that the security management can see the police reports and the crimes that are reported in all the garages in real time. They often share video with us, before we even have it assigned to anybody to look into. And actually, I haven't talked to my boss about it, but he forwarded me an email about a concern today. We had already had email from already had video from DOT sent over and given to the officer about theft from auto event. So ton of work with them. And again, that's been going on for years, building up those capabilities. And then last but not least, the Chamber of Commerce did have a big award ceremony in person for the first time in a number of years, and some of our officers were recognized for the work that they did there. They received our second highest award in the department, and that was for a critical incident that happened on Georgia Avenue, where a young female actually was in a fight with her brother, jumped out of a car with a big knife in front of the officers, chased them. Our officers did amazing work to separate them, get in between them, and safely take her into custody and ultimately to the hospital for mental health treatment. Absolutely could have gone sideways and been a very bad incident for everybody involved. And I can't tell you enough how proud I am of the work that they do. And we see it all the time. I think I'll let him get to it, but I know there was a comment about kind of de-escalation. Um, we've focused heavily on de-escalation in the last number of years. The state laws have changed about our use of force. Any use of force that happens gets reviewed by the supervisor, by the deputy commander, by the commander, by our headquarters. And then we also have random reviews that happen with these videos. And of course, anybody along the way can kick it over for additional investigation if warranted. But I will tell you, I've watched a lot of videos at this point, being here for this many years, and I can't say enough how proud I am of the work our officers are doing every single day to address issues incredibly professionally and safely. So really proud of them, and that's kind of all I have. But thank you, Commander, for letting me chime in there.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Let me ask a question. It's once in the chat, then we'll go to Karen Matson. I'm curious about the cooperation between MCPD and the Park Police. Over the course of the last several months, we had the incident on Sligo Creek where somebody was accused of sexually assaulting females on the trail. And then not too long ago, there was a situation in Nolte Park where three youths were said to have come up to somebody and threatened them and before they went away. So who has jurisdiction? What do you do in situations when you get a report that something's happening on the Sligo Creek Trail or in Nolte Park?
Yeah, so Sligo Creek Trail and the parks are all ran by the Montgomery County Park Police. So we do work with them, but they are separate. They have their own radio channel and their own computer. Like we can't see their police cars on our computer screen, but we do work together, and sometimes we'll communicate if needed. But our command staffs definitely talk to each other. Captain Lieberman and us, we work together on issues in different parks. So, there was an arrest made. I believe it was put in the media a couple days ago about an individual that grabbed a person on the trail in a sexual nature. I think grabbed them from the outside of their clothing. That individual was arrested. I'm not sure. I think that may actually be a question in the chat. I'm not sure what the status is on that person. I will say that, I think the person's name was released in the press release that was put out by Park Police. And one thing that we tell people as an option for the community is you can always go to Maryland Judiciary Case Search. It's not perfect 100% of the time, but you can look people up in there and see if they're held without bond or if they've been released and things of that nature. So we do work with the Park Police, but they are separate. So incidents that happen inside the park or on park property are the primary jurisdiction of the Park Police. I will tell you that sometimes we may not even know if a crime was reported inside of a park if you called and it went directly to the park police. I was on an email, I think, recently about an incident at Nolte Park. I know that we, as a Montgomery County Police, we've made some arrests around Nolte Park, and one in particular recently was some individuals that were involved in the sales of drugs and also were in a possession of a gun. And a community member called 911 to report suspicious activity that individuals were selling drugs. And our drone, as first responder, actually got there within about 45 seconds of the suspicious call and picked up on these individuals. And then we were able to send some surveillance officers over there to watch them. And we ultimately made an arrest and got drugs that were packaged for distribution and a gun, and made arrests on those people. They did not live in the neighborhood. They went to the park specifically to engage in criminal activity. So they weren't from, Thayer Avenue or anything like that. We did have a call recently for an individual that, a female community member was out for a walk and a person came behind her and slapped her on the rear end and kept going. We did get that individual stopped and identified. That person was suffering from, significant mental health issues, to say the least. Not that it's legal for them to do that. Obviously, they're going to be facing criminal charges, but they were having some mental health problems. So we're also working to try to get them some help on that. But yeah, a lot of stuff that happens on the trail, though, we might not know about. Long answer.
No, but a great answer. I was wondering if you were suggesting that there could be any improvement at the sort of the communications between and the partnership between parks and MCPD. The idea that you don't know where their cars are, or that things are happening that you don't know about, seems to me like a situation that could use some scrutiny.
Yeah, I mean, there's the higher level decisions to be made that, do we get to a point where we're integrated in the same computer dispatch? Should they work on our radio channel? I mean, Tacoma Park, the city of Tacoma Park, we can see them on our computer dispatch on our screen, but they operate on their own police radio channel. So it's not foreign for other allied agencies to operate separate of us, but it does help when we can see and kind of hear each other and what's going on. So, but we do work with them, and when we do become aware of issues, we work together on them.
Karen, if you want to ask your question, please come back. I've got a question here from Karen. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
I did not know that. I knew you were down officers, but I did not know that you were down by 200 officers. It sounds like a lot. And I was wondering if there's why you're down that much? And also, is there any remedy? Is it because of the budget, or, would some advocacy for the police budget help? It just sounds like you're down by a lot.
Yeah, it's just shy of 200. I think we're around 188. The number changes, as people retire each month, or, different things happen. No, we'll always take positive community support and advocacy with our elected leaders, not only the council, but also the county executive's office. I'll tell you that there's a number of reasons why we're short the way we are. So there was a lot of cops that were hired in the 90s, and they came up on, a full 25, 30 years of service, and got to around 2020. And what happened in 2020 was, a mix of a number of things. But the biggest thing that happened was one guy in Minnesota engaged in a incident with George Floyd, and that George Floyd incident significantly changed the landscape nationwide on law enforcement. Now, there's some things that have come out of that where, for example, locally, we were audited and we came out very, very favorable by our audit of our training and our de-escalation and things, because the question was, what happened in Minnesota? Could that happen here? And we don't teach those techniques. We don't do those things. And so a third party auditor came in and saw that and drafted a report for the public and stuff. So, law enforcement's not the same everywhere. The standards are different in different states. The local police departments, city police, everything's different. But what happened was there was a tremendous response to that incident, right? And there was negative political things that came from that. There was a lot of anti-police rhetoric, painting of broad brush. Police were yelled at to be defunded. We were under attack. And a lot of people said, hey, you know what? I can retire. I got 25, 30 years on. I don't have to deal with this. And I can get the heck out. And they did. And what we're seeing now, though, is it's been a few years. We've had a lot of scrutiny. Some of it's fine. Some of it's good to see what we're doing, understand what are our policies. We've made improvements. We can always do better. But I think what happened was after a lot of these attacks and different things, a lot of people realized that, wow, Montgomery County is not Minneapolis. And so now in 2025, I will tell you that the pendulum is swinging in the other direction in the sense of, there's less defund, there's less anti-police, there's less. I mean, it used to be I would walk down the street and I would get the middle finger from people. I didn't even do anything, So, but now it's opposite, right? So now we're getting, like what Lieutenant Galladara said, the thank yous. We have to police professionally. We have to respect people. We have to follow the Constitution. And that's what we need to do. And when we don't do those things, we need to hold police accountable. But an overwhelming majority of the cops are doing the right thing. They're trained well. And I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing the community support more vocal. Our council is different now. We have a lot of new council members that have joined. We are seeing positive support from elected leaders, even the county executive's office, people in that staff, very positive. We're being supported in our budget with regards to compensation. So one of the things now is we got to dig ourselves out of this hole. And this whole anti-police thing and retirements, that wasn't a Montgomery County thing only. That was nationally, everybody across the board. There was broad emotional reaction to that horrible incident, and it affected a lot of towns and cities. So now we're trying to dig ourselves back. We're trying to get back out of this hole, this staffing crisis. Montgomery County was already understaffed before the George Floyd incident. We were at 1,300 officers. We should have been well above that. We've enjoyed always getting more done with less type approach. But so now what's happening, right? Political rhetoric, support from politicians has switched to the positive. That's very helpful for us with encouraging people to work in this profession. Community support. I mean, you all in Silver Spring have just been amazing. We're at meetings in everywhere, Fairland, White Oak, Hillendale, and the positivity from our community. Officers are willing to work hard and be out there and put themselves on the line when the community backs them and supports them. And they know they have to do it the right way and do the right thing. And then the last thing now is we're in a fierce competition, right? We have a smaller pool of applicants, and all these police departments are offering different things. And so we have to be competitive. And so what's happening now, the council is voting on it. The county executive proposed working with the FOP for a compensation adjustment for this coming fiscal year that's going to make us highly competitive with Anne Arundel County, Baltimore City, and some other jurisdictions with a starting salary. And now it's on us to try to recruit and start to fill these recruit classes. The police department hired a third-party recruitment firm to help with our recruitment videos and ads and marketing. So we'll see going forward. The class size that's going to start here in June is bigger than the ones in the past. but we do have a hole we got to dig out of, and it takes everyone, the community, elected leaders, police department. And so I think we're heading in a good direction. Now we just it's going to take some time.
I want to ask, thank you, Karen. I want to ask this question. Has any progress been made about using the drones as first responders in the White Oak area? That's something we talked about before. If that's a area of concern, it seems to me that White Oak would be a place that you'd want to have that technology.
Yeah, so in the budget, it's a tough budget year, right? There's a lot of priorities in the county. So the county executive initially was talking about adding a drone as first responder site to White Oak and Germantown. What ended up getting in the final budget was a site for Germantown. However, because the police department, we are forward thinking, we're always trying to stay on the cutting edge. We've identified potentially a way to significantly expand the drone program without significantly increasing the costs. So we have a meeting tomorrow. All of this hinges on what our federal partners are willing to allow us to do. So we have a meeting tomorrow morning, actually, with the TSA, the FAA, some other federal partners to pitch an idea. There's some new technology out there that will allow us to expand the number of drones in the county at a reduced cost, but it's going to require some regulatory approval. So if we have a positive meeting tomorrow, you could potentially see the entire Silver Spring district having drone as first responder coverage. I'm talking about Burtonsville, Briggs Cheney, Fairland, White Oak, Hillendale, everything. There is the potential that this new technology being positioned, we can put drones at police stations and fire stations where it could significantly have coverage for the whole district, not just White Oak. So more to come on that.
That's good news. So, Eileen Finnegan from the Hillendale area. So she sent a question. There was a presser reported on Moco's show regarding an MS-13 arrest in Silver Spring. And I'd like to confirm or deny whether this was in the Piney Branch area of the Northwest Park Apartments, Quebec Terrace. This area has long been a spot for MS-13. While the county downplays it, is the county addressing MS-13 or other gangs in the area?
Yeah, so that Piney Branch, Long Branch area is our MS-13 area in Silver Spring. It's not the only MS-13 area in the county. Obviously, Gaithersburg, Up County has some MS-13. And I believe there's some MS-13 potentially in parts of Wheaton as well. But, we border Langley Park. Langley Park is, one of the big hubs for MS-13 in the Mid-Atlantic area. We have had arrests of MS-13 gang members. We actually Montgomery County had the state's first prosecution with a gang enhancement related to MS-13 members. So we've had MS-13 violence in the Northwest Park community, and there have been MS-13 arrests. I'm not sure which one specifically you're citing in this question, but we have had in the last year some convictions of MS-13 members, significant convictions.
I appreciate the response because we've been doing this for many, many years, and there was a period of time when MCPD at least downplayed the gang activity in the county and said there was none. And some of us thought that was a bit an unusual response. So we appreciate your candid response on that. There is a question in the chat where Joel Teitelbaum is asking how closely does District 3 cooperate with District 2, especially timely information sharing, combined responses to events and pursuits.
So our dispatch center is pretty shorthanded right now, our 911 center. So unfortunately, but I guess fortunately for Joel in this question, our radio channels with Bethesda sometimes are consolidated. which means there's one dispatcher for Bethesda and Silver Spring because we're short on dispatchers. So the days that the radios are consolidated, we hear each other's radio traffic. So we're very intimately intertwined in what's going on. On days that we're not, we do work closely, obviously, with the second district. Sometimes they will ask for us to come over to Rosemary Hills or areas on East West Highway to help them. Obviously, our drone as first responder in the downtown Silver Spring area does service Rosemary Hills and over towards Grubb Road, East West Highway, and the areas over there. So yeah, we share information. Obviously, if a crime happens, lookouts are broadcasted on all channels on the computer and things of that nature. So if there's something that goes on over there on East West Highway, Grubb, closer to 16th Street, I'm not guaranteeing that the third district officers know about it, depending on the severity of the incident. But if something does happen, those lookouts are broadcasted pretty quick to us, because generally the path of flight, if it's not someone that lives in the apartment complex or local area there, is East West Highway to 16th Street and most of the time down to the District of Columbia. So they do sometimes come over to Silver Spring. And, just the other day, yesterday, or the day before, there was an individual missing from we had a purple alert for autistic individual that had gone missing from the Bethesda area. And the Bethesda detectives were coordinating and sharing information with our officers in downtown Silver Spring. And ultimately, the family and was able to work with the officers, and they were able to locate and safely reunite that child with the family. So a lot of coordination.
Well, thanks for that answer. One of the questions in the chat has to do with plans for MCPD coverage when the purple line is completed. Has anybody given any thought to what enforcement strategy would look like, in 2027 when the purple line is completed?
Yeah, so the purple line is a Maryland Transit project. So you have, for those that know, right, the ICC, Intercounty Connector, BWI Airport, Fort McHenry Tunnel, any of the toll bridges, their police service is the Maryland MDTA, Maryland Department of Transportation. They have their own police. Well, the light rail, which a purple line is going to be the light rail, is a Maryland Transportation Administration transit thing, which is the same as like the red line up in Baltimore City, the light rail. So the purple line is actually going to be the Maryland Transportation Authority, not the MDTA. There's another, it's the MTA police. So they're going to have their own police. They're working on building a southern station in Riverdale, I believe, Prince George's County, and they're going to have primary law enforcement for the purple line. Now, we're going to work in conjunction with them, and a lot of times, same as WMATA, the Metro Police, sometimes we both get the call at the same time. We get there first, but MTA is going to have the policing responsibility for the purple line. I'm sure that we're going to be working with them and getting there a lot faster than they are. So what's going to come with the purple line, to be determined. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad with related to crime? I don't know. It's not going to be as convenient as the Metro. When you get on the Metro, right, that thing zooms to the next stop. This is not a Metro. This is not an underground Metro. This is a overground light rail that is going to have to kind of move in the flow of traffic. So isn't going to be as convenient for criminals to use. I don't know.
I see that Joseph Young from Congressman Jamie Raskin's office is joining us, and he's thanking your officers for their great work and service to the community. Welcome, Joseph.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Yes, Danielle. So the Maryland Transportation Authority, they are going to be adding officers. They're going to be opening an entire station just for the purple line. So are we going to be adding officers because of the purple line? Not specifically. We need more officers for a lot of reasons. The purple line could be one of them. But there's a lot of just general growth. We're talking about, great opportunities in Silver Spring are happening, with redevelopment. Downtown, new high rises are being constructed. Hillendale, there's a new development going in. Forest Glen just had an apartment community put in. Burtonsville is getting townhomes. Cherry Hill Road, they're talking about Viva White Oak, multi-thousand unit community. So over the next, 5-10 years, we're going to need a lot more cops, not only for the purple line, but for all the growth that's coming to the area.
I've got a couple of questions here. You mentioned at the outset talking about ICE enforcement. Has there been ICE activity in the 3rd District over the course of the last several months?
So we're not notified when ICE comes to the county. We don't do joint operations with them related to immigration. We were told that on 2 occasions, ICE has been in that we know of. ICE has been in Silver Spring and Tacoma Park doing operations. Now, the operations, from what we're told, and obviously the same thing you all probably hear publicly in the media, is the ICE operations are targeting violent offenders, felons, gang members, individuals that are criminal at this time. And that's what we're told. And so I'm aware of at least 2 occasions. I will tell you that I've received a dozen what we would deem false reports of potential ICE activity, things at our homeless shelters, different neighborhoods, so we're not aware of stuff like that.
I was going to ask you, are residents calling you with the suspicion of ICE activity in the 3rd District?
Occasionally, we do. We do get those, and if we can dispel it, we absolutely want to help our community to have an answer, and however they feel, they'll have an answer about it. But there's sometimes we just don't know because ICE doesn't tell us. They don't tell us when they're coming. They don't ask for our help. Like I said, sometimes they give us a courtesy, but that was only been once, I think, so far.
We go back to the issue of homicides. We did have the homicide in the Wayne Avenue garage, and then we had the homicide in Nolte Park. I know arrest was made with regard to the Nolte Park homicide. Is there any update from from major crimes from your people about Wayne Avenue, about the Wayne Avenue homicide, which was pretty spectacular for the neighborhood?
It was. I could tell you that the case is now with our cold case squad. I literally talked with them on Monday. They're still, going through every lead that they can. I know they did do a press release a few months ago asking for additional information. So it's still an open and active investigation. I could tell you that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that Wayne Avenue one is definitely, they're still dedicated to working that. I think a couple months ago, we put out a press release of an individual that we were seeking to talk to, not because we thought they did anything wrong, but they may have seen something. So they're really looking to talk to folks that might know anything. The Nolte Park, we had arrests were made. One of the individuals that was charged. So what, it's kind of like if you've watched Law and Order. When they make the arrest, the investigation's still going on after the arrest while they're working their way through the court process. So there was a couple of arrests made in Nolte Park. I think subsequent investigation revealed that the one individual that's still charged was the main issue in that. There was a second individual that was, I believe the charges were dropped or reduced because evidence came to light that they were not the actual person that pulled the trigger. And so that person was, reduced on those charges. And then I do think that, and I want to be careful. I'll give a disclaimer that if I'm remembering correctly, I believe that everyone that was responsible for that has been identified and they got they got that wrapped up. I don't know where it stands in the court process. Obviously, if that goes to trial and things of that nature, a lot of information that was previously kept, quiet for investigative reasons, obviously will all be put to light if there's a trial. If the individual pleads guilty and there's no trial, then some of that information may not make it to the public, through the open courtroom process. Not that it couldn't be discussed in other venues and stuff at some point.
Well, we appreciate that update, and we do appreciate everything that you do for us. We have these meetings quarterly. The next one is in October, and hopefully it'll be a quiet summer, and we'll look forward to getting together with you and your staff in the fall. Anything you'd like to say to us as we conclude this meeting?
Yeah, we got 2 more quick questions here. District 3 drones, yep, they cover Rosemary Hills, that area, out to Grub Road. So that's the Silver Spring drone as first responder will service your area out there. Bethesda has their own drone downtown in the Central Business District as well. There was a question, Blue Envelope program. We don't. I know that Council Member Lutke was looking to potentially introduce some legislation related to that, where folks with an intellectual or developmental disability could provide information in advance to help with interactions with public safety. I'm not sure where that stands or where that's at, but we don't have the Blue Envelope program, which I think they're doing in Virginia right now. And then the last thing I saw was about cameras. We are, for businesses in particular, seeking cameras to be shared with our real-time crime center. Folks that are private homeowners, the camera rebate incentive program has now been spread to all parts of Montgomery County. So before, it was only certain neighborhoods could qualify for the camera rebate that I believe is $250 that you can be reimbursed for getting a private home security camera. That's now all neighborhoods. And if you get a camera, we encourage folks to register with us. It does not give us access to your footage. We can't do anything with your camera, but if we have a crime in your neighborhood, by you having your camera registers, it allows us to send you an email that says, hey, can you please check your camera for around 2 a.m? We think something happened. And if you wish to share the video with us, that's your choice to do so. So that's what we're doing with cameras.
Well, we appreciate your attention to the questions in the chat. We thank you for being here this evening. Look forward to seeing you out in Silver Spring. Thanks everybody who was able to join us this evening, and everybody have a good rest of the evening.
Yep. We'll see you all in October.
Thanks.
Thanks.